struck down the Arizona law. But House Republicans still say they want that for the whole country. They think this is the year they're going to be able to get it passed. And as we await probably yet another ruling on 20-week bans, federally clarifying that issue after what they did with Arizona, and as we await the judicial fate of the Massachusetts buffer zone law that passed after that fatal rampage in Brookline and created a safety buffer zone around those clinics, as we await those things judicially, the Republican Party, not just in the states, but in Washington, is declaring that more than anything else, more than any other policy issue in the country, the one thing that unifies the Republican Party in the United States is how opposed they are to abortion rights. War and peace, spending versus not spending, hands-off government versus hands-on government, guns, gays, the Voting Rights Act. I mean, there are real differences of opinion among elected Republicans on all of those issues, but on abortion, unity. There is one Republican position on which you can say there is unity, and they are putting it at the forefront of what it means to be a Republican. They think it's not just the right thing to do, they think it's going to work for them strategically. Why do they think that, and what does it mean for our politics? Joining us now is John Stanton. He's Washington Bureau Chief for BuzzFeed. Mr. Stanton, thank you for being here tonight.
It's good to be here.
On this issue, there was a lot of talk by people who don't know, such as myself, about what was going on inside the Republican mind, about losing women by 12 points, about all the Senate seats that they thought were going to be winnable that they lost, about the resonance of the idea of a Republican war on women. And people who don't know were thinking, oh, Republican mindset here is that they're going to have to start soft-pedaling this issue. Yeah. They've gone in completely the opposite direction. Do you have any insight from your reporting into why?
Yeah, I think it's they look at this as a thing that unites their base. It does bring their people out to vote. They see this as a very good political issue. They don't have any notion that this is going to actually pass. They understand that if by some miracle they found the 20-some-odd votes they're going to need from Democrats in the Senate to get it through the Senate, it would be vetoed. You could not override that veto. But they see it as a way to gin up their base. And in an off-year election like this, that is key. They also, I think, see this as a way to try to win back that, at least to get it to a stalemate maybe with Democrats on this issue of the war with women. They're trying to put some of these moderate Democrats into a bit of a tough bind by saying, well, you're for late-term abortions, or you don't want to tell the parents of children that are having an abortion that they're having it. But, the idea that there is this moral thing to this, there is for, I think, members, for instance, the RNC committee, and for some members of the Republican Party. But a lot of them, this is also very much a political issue. I mean,
and that is the part of seeing it as a moral issue and having a moral debate about what's right in terms of policy is something I understand completely, and I think everybody believes is a legitimate debate. I think the thing that we're just figuring out now is that the electoral calculus, Democrats look at this and think, I can't believe Republicans are shooting themselves in the foot like this, taking this into a general election and saying, no, we want to more loudly be known as anti-abortion. We want that to be more prominent in terms of how you think of us. But that really is the way that they think it shakes out.
It is against sort of what everyone would say is the obvious evidence. The Virginia election is a great example. It's a very conservative state. It's a state where abortion is very much frowned upon, and yet they pushed this issue. It became a thing, and it helped Democrats in the end. And the gender gap between Cuccinelli and Terry McAuliffe was enormous. I mean, that's why Terry McAuliffe, of all people, is the governor of Virginia now. And
in Washington, are there any issues where this Republican orthodoxy on the issue actually gets complicated, where it means they don't know what to do?
The biggest one is Israel. My colleague Kate Nasser did this great story about how that we give them billions of dollars every year, and Israel now has the most progressive or liberal law on abortion. They are now providing taxpayer-funded abortions to people in Israel, and you cannot find a Republican that will criticize that. And they say, well, that's separate money, but they say, in the case of, for instance, District of Columbia or Planned Parenthood, that money is fungible. Those arguments don't come into play on the domestic level. It's only on Israel. And that's really the only place we've seen the Republican Party suddenly back away from its criticism.
So this is going to be the hardline fight. The Republicans telling each other, if you support funding for Israel, you're a murderer.
Right.
But specifically on the issue of abortion.
Right. Exactly.
I want to see that fight. I just want to see that fight just because I'd like to bet on it. John Stanton, Washington Bureau Chief for BuzzFeed. Thank you very much for being here, John. Good to see you. All right. A major development